relationships are very easy. Humans are complex. And once you get your pride out the way and everything else, you really can solve most of this stuff. But it absolutely takes two people with dedication, or it will never work. And this is, I think, people go into relationships as the one, not as a two, right? A lot of my friends, I've got a lot of very successful female friends. I've run conferences, women only 7-8 figures, like very close friends of mine, in low hundreds, right? They're all brand owners. They're not like OnlyFans or anything like that. They run brands that solve problems in terms of products and stuff. And whenever I have conversations with them, because some of them are single, I'm like, what does he want? Because they give me their list of everything that they want. And then I help them with, but you built a list for yourself, but what do they want? And I say the same to my guy friends. Do you actually do you actually think about what they want? Because until you've written out that list and understand what the other person wants, you're not going to attract them. You're just actually going to repel them, because you're working in a mode of the self. You've got this long list just for you. And it's like, what does the other person want? Well, until you know that, you don't know who you're trying to attract. Does that make sense? So it really does come down to on that side. And this is why the toxic shame stuff is important, because I think a lot of men carry toxic shame in their relationships. Sometimes they're in relationships where they're more codependent than they should be, and they haven't resolved that. And I think that also puts pressure on the wife as well, because of the way that the husband has been brought up. But that might show up very late into the relationship or the marriage down the road, So, yeah, it's funny out there. But in terms of the dating game and stuff like that, what have you observed? You mentioned earlier on discussing narcissism. Everyone calls each other a narcissist. No one knows what a narcissist is. They don't know about the 9 traits and that you need to have 6 of them. And it could be comorbid with borderline personality disorder, ASPD, etc. Do you know what I mean?
I mean, I would totally agree. I think that, like you said, the toxic shame that men have when it comes to expressing their needs and desires means that they don't ask key things about relationships, and they're never told or taught. Women kind of intuitively soak up a lot of relationship advice, and then they ask for it. They feel encouraged all the time to talk about their relationship problems, to ask about things, to observe relationships, right? Because the role of relationship is, for the most part, placed on the woman.
Yeah.
So when I find men and women going into the dating field, they have 2 completely different sets of wants, needs, and desires.
Yep.
And the woman is looking more for relational roles in what she wants in a relationship, how she wants it to go. And the man is looking more for like sex, desire, compatibility in that sense. And neither one is actually understanding the key roles of relationship, which is like future compatibility, core values. How does this person get through difficult times? Are they someone who is loyal, not just to another person, but to their own word, their commitments? Like you can understand that by looking at like, how long do they stay in a job position? How do they get through arguments, through fights? How do they see their ex? And we don't really ask those questions when we get into dating, unless you are kind of older and you've been through a divorce or you've been through a relationship long term. But when you're just getting started, you kind of like rely on love or that spark. And that spark is usually just the familiarity from childhood that you're not understanding. And that's when you get into relationships similar to your parents. So depending on whatever relationship your parents had or had with you, like good luck, because, you have a 50-50 chance. That's why 50% of divorces happen. Only 50%, at least of the US population, is estimated to be a secure attachment style.
Yeah. And to go back onto that as well, again, it's something that gets pushed around. I like to look at all areas. They'll go 50% of marriages end up in divorce, 80% filed by women. All right, okay, let's break this down for a minute. Why are they filing them? No one says that. It's always like it's the woman's fault. What about, do you not know how to attach? Did you get fucking lazy in your relationship? Did you put on a load of weight, get sloppy? Did you stop dating her? Did you stop showing her respect? Did you treat her with contempt? Because half of the time, it really does come down to the connection. Does she still have that emotional connection? what have you done to that? Because what we do, men and women, when we're hurting, we project out like we've been into this relationship and it ended and it's all their fault. And it's like, no. You need to write down everything that you did and be honest, because otherwise you're going to go from one relationship doing the same bullshit over and over again. And I think after time when you sit down with people, they stop dating it with their partner. That's why their partner is maybe stop sleeping with them as much or less regular, because they're not putting in the work that they did early doors. And this is where reciprocity comes in. It's not transactional. It's just that you both showed up earlier on as the best versions of yourself in the relationship, right? If you get lazy, then the other person goes, well, you're not putting the effort in. Why should I? But then they have different reasons why the complaints are there. And I always say you've got to bring it back to the self. Until you have that brutal sit down with yourself and take full accountability, you'll never see these patterns because they'll just unconsciously go through.